Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock.
My name is Danny.
And we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Home Dad Chat. That is right. I am back on the show tonight after being gone. My rotator cuff surgery went really well. My recovery is still going on, and it's going well also. So I was excited to be able to jump on and get to hang out with Danny tonight. Danny, I missed you, buddy. How you been?
I'm doing well. And I'm just going to say, for an old man, you're healing really fast. I'm impressed.
I know. I guess I'm not as old as I thought I was, so I'll take it.
Well,
a lot of prayer too. I'm going to say
too.
lots of prayer from people too. So
Yeah,
thank all the people that have been doing that.
Oh, I'm sure. And the rotator cuff too. There's just everything you do. It's affected. I mean, it's the extension of everything. So it's right there. It's the main joint for your entire arm. So you really have to. Did you wear a sling like all the time? I notice you're not wearing one now, but you're getting better.
Right. So I did wear a sling. I still wear a sling when I go out, just traveling wise. I actually was told though today that I don't have to, since I haven't been on pain meds for like almost a week now. And I'm not really feeling a ton of pain, which is nice, except for when I go to PT and they put me through the torture chamber. But it's all for the good, right?
That's right. Necessary.
So they told me that as long as I felt comfortable, I could actually go back to driving again, which I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, I mean, I wore it. I actually had to wear it when I slept. That sucked. I slept in a recliner and had pillows like up under my arm and different things. And it was interesting. Had a nice ice machine that brought like ice cold water through a pad that sat on my shoulder. And I would sit there with it on my shoulder for like 20 minutes and just either, slide through social media or I'd be watching a show or something like that. So, but it was good. I mean, it wasn't a bad deal. It went really well. I think the thing I talked about on the show before the surgery was I had an issue. I was concerned about the anesthesia, I think was something that I had talked about on there, but that went really well. Honestly, good. That whole thing was really funny because I can get kind of jokey when I'm nervous. And so, I'll crack jokes or whatever. I had a really awesome nurse. She was great. And I was telling the anesthesiologist my concerns and he was like, okay, cool. Like, no problem. I don't think it'll be a big issue, but we'll definitely keep an eye on things. Mm-hmm. And he shot me in the shoulder with like the main like numbing, like when you like, first they put like a numbing cream on and I'm like, all right, cool. No biggie. And I was like, oh, should I be feeling something about now? He's like, yeah, probably just a little bit, just kind of giving you that, like, everything's good. I'm like, okay. So I was definitely feeling that in his shoulder. And then I never felt him like actually like shoot me in the shoulder with this thing that
really
the numb blocker or the nerve blocker. Never felt it. I was like, okay. And after he did it though, I was like, so just curious, like, is this going to be like the beginning of like me just sort of like, going into like a state of sleep or whatever? He's like, it could. And I'm like, okay. I don't remember anything past that. Like the only thing I do remember out of that is like the initial, like starting to be rolled out. That's it. Like, I don't remember going into the operation area or anything like that. But what's funny is when I came out and they took me out to the car and my wife took me home, apparently I talked the entire way home. I don't remember this either. and in my drugged up state, tried to give her directions on how to get home. And then at one point I was like, hey, you see that up there? There's traffic up there. Why don't you get off here and go this way? She's like, I just shut up. Let me drive. she's like, I don't even know which way I would even get home if I went that way. Just shut up. Like, we'll get home when we get home. So
Nice.
yeah, so
Nice.
that was the fun experience.
Long
You're like,
suffering, love is long suffering, and it starts right after the anesthesia.
hey, I'll take that over some of the other crazy like videos you see out there of people under anesthesia. So it's all good. I mean, if that's the least of what I dealt with. So, but it was just funny. She was like, you're no different when you're drunk to when you're sleeping. You have to talk. She's like, and giving me directions when you're on drugs, that's not good. She's like, I will not. She's like, I will not follow your directions no matter what. Next thing you know, we'll be chasing after a purple giraffe or something. So yeah, so that was quite an adventure. But yeah, doing good. And I'm excited tonight because tonight marks or this episode actually marks our 50th episode. Amazing 50 episodes.
Oh yeah.
Not too many podcasts can say that they hit 50. Honestly, there are a lot that fall off even after 25. So 50 episodes, and I poured some Old Elk for this, our 1 year anniversary of the podcast as well.
1 year.
So
I've got nothing.
That's okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I don't have anything to
it's all good.
Cheers. Toast with. Yeah. 1 year. And I mean, there's been a lot that has happened in the last year. But it just doesn't seem like it was that long ago to me. I mean, it really, like 50 episodes. That's a lot of episodes.
It is, especially when you commit to one a week, It's pretty exciting. Yeah. And we've had a lot of awesome guests.
And they're all about.
Yeah. They're all about what? No, go for it. What were you going to say?
Well, they're all about, 45 minutes or an hour, right?
Yeah.
So it's all like a chunk of time, you're not, like just jumping in. Hey, here's 5 minutes of I don't know what, Brock and Danny talking about Band-Aids. Okay, we're done. It's definitely meandering. It does meander now and then, even when we have people on that we're specifically talking about something, we generally talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's all pretty much, I feel like, because I looked through it and we were talking about, what we wanted to talk about tonight on our 50th. And on all of the episodes, I was like, yeah, I like that episode. That was fun talking about this or that person, or, I really learned a lot on that one. And then some of them I learned going into it, like to research it. Like, okay, so the one with family law, completely out of my element. I mean, I was completely out of the water on that one. And I'm like, no, I got to at least look up and figure out what the heck, we're trying to be talking about here. But it was so enlightening. And it opened up so much more about the struggle that a lot of dads have. Again, it hasn't been my personal struggle, so I didn't really think about it. But then after that episode, I was like, wow, yeah, men are really not getting the treatment that we should.
Yeah.
And I don't want to whine like, because men are like top dog. I mean, that's it. We've had great lives, so to speak. But realistically, there's still areas where people aren't getting treated properly. Right. And that's in one of them, that we're second citizens in the way the court looks at it for, child support and things like that. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah, it's been great. I'm hard pressed to pick a favorite.
It was hard to pick a favorite.
What about you?
I definitely have, and I will get there for that here in just a second. But
sure.
The past year has been crazy. Like, so in the past year, we had just done DadCon at Home virtual, and then this kicked off. And so, we did a Thanksgiving episode. I don't remember if we did anything for the holidays. We definitely did a May the 4th episode, which was a lot of fun. Did some prep for the summer type stuff. I really think that it was, to me, that was enjoyable to kind of get those things put in place. So we were like, reaching guys. But for me, like, the greatest impact to look back on over the past year, one of those things is the amount of people who found us who weren't connected with the National At Home Dad Network. So like through Instagram and Twitter and just the Facebook page itself. And a lot of those guys came to Home DadCon this year and came up to us and were like, dude, I've been listening to your show, or I found your show because, or I found the National I found your show, which then led me to find the National At Home Dad Network. And I was just like, that's really cool. And then on top of that too, to be able to like see a conversation, whether it be on the National At Home Dad Network's closed page or in the larger, like international, like stay at home dad group page, that's a little bit bigger. that's, not a part of the organization, but there's people that overlap into it, and a lot of great guys in there as well. And to be able to, in both of those groups, be like, hey, like, we've got a podcast that we did just on that topic. Like, here, think about listening to it, or type of deal. And that was one of the things where I was like, man, like we can get so many different topics from just talking to those guys and seeing those things. And it's like, give people a chance to be heard through maybe not even having to come on the show. So that was something that was very eye-opening to me. But the thing that I learned about the past year from podcasting with you and this whole situation is that I really enjoy having a co-host, because I did my own solo show for a while, before we got together.
Nomad Dad. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Nomad Dad podcast is great. And it's been on the back burners for quite a while, because honestly, like having somebody else to come alongside and bounce things off of in a conversation, and not having to be all like, I got to have a guest before I do a show type of thing, because my show wasn't really just me talking. It was me talking to other people and giving them a platform. I really enjoy this, like us talking back and forth, or us bringing on somebody like that. That has been probably like my highlight for the past year.
Yeah. I agree. I would not want, no, I think either one of us could carry a conversation without anybody else saying a word for 45 minutes. I really think we have that skill. We would just go and let it go. But having that ability to bounce stuff off of, or the way that you will say a thing that I would not have thought to say it that way, or your perspective is completely different than mine in, whatever it might be that we're talking about.
Or you correcting me for the way that I completely wrongly say something, which I'm good at doing too.
I hope I haven't done that too much.
No, that's okay. Hey, that's why you complete me.
Well, and the big part of it too is that camaraderie. It's the companionship. It's the community. And that's more and more what I feel like I learned more about in the last year. I think from podcasting, honestly, is the need for it, the need for a men's group, right? Even if it's not at-home dads, just a group of men that you can hang out with, and if you're dad, I think a group of dads would be even better for you.
Yeah.
That community is so valuable, and something that we really just kind of either we make fun of it, or we just say, no, we're not doing that. We're men. I'm fine. I can stand alone and handle this on my own. And yeah, you can. And yeah, it's a lot more work, but the reality of it is having that ability to find somebody that you can talk to, and it doesn't have to be about anything deep. It doesn't have to be, it can be, beer and cigars. Yeah, let's go, or just beer is fine too. Which, by the way, I drink beer now. Thanks.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. Not a lot of beers. I'm still trying to feel the taste is still not quite there.
But the thing with you make me jealous, because you're in Wisconsin, man. There's some great beers up there. So
there are indeed. Yeah.
You're in a I would consider that like a mecca ground for the craft beer people. So that's awesome, man.
And even in my tiny little town, we have 2 breweries and 1 distillery. And we're having another distillery come in next year, I think. And we're not that big a town, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're going to go where? And it's Oso's Brewing. I don't want to do an ad for them or anything like that. But the Rotary Club went over there, and they're raising money for polio vaccinations.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, so we're going to be out here at Oso's Brewery, and we're going to have axe throwing, and we're going to have, every dollar from your beer goes to polio. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And the place was huge.
Oh, that's cool.
We didn't end up going because one of the kids wasn't feeling well, but it's just amazing how, and we talked about this too, in one of the smaller groups recently, that having a beer together is just a bonding thing.
Oh yeah.
And for me, one of the reasons I want to drink beer, I want to get used to the taste and enjoy it, is because every time we have, hey, let's go do whatever, you're going to have a beer, and it's just part of that camaraderie is, hey, let's have a beer. Yeah, of course we're going to have a beer.
And it's much lighter than drinking a whiskey or a scotch.
Right. Yeah. That's it for me. I'm like, well, I mean, I could have a I guess I could have a scotch. And they were like, oh yeah, drink some scotch. I'm like, but if I have one, that's it for me.
That's all. I'm drinking water the rest of the night.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. And trying to toast someone with a bottle of water is it's just not the same,
but that's cool though.
There's just,
you're getting into it.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying.
Well, hey, I mean, if you were anywhere near the beer share for DadCon, I don't think you could walk by there without being introduced to it, honestly. So
yeah, it was great. It was great. I went up there to play some cards, actually. I can't remember what card game we played, but it was like Crimes Against Humanity, but it was a parenting edition or whatever.
Oh wow.
And, it was a dad version and whatever. They had stay-at-home dads as one of the answers.
That's
and
cool.
It was just amazing, to sit around and just have everybody going, hey, have you, and not like taking a whole beer and guzzling it, but it's like,
no,
have you tried this, whatever. And I apologize to everyone. I'm still a neophyte when it comes to how to describe a beer, but have you tried this? This is from, with this one though, this one's from, I don't know, Portland or whatever. And I want you to take a sip of this, and you give them a little, cup of it. And they're like, oh, wow, I can really taste the difference in whatever it might've been. And it's so almost scientific, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it.
It's a definite like training of your palate, which is really cool, because then, I mean, like, even if you take that and you're like, all right, like I'm going to go out wine tasting with, with my partner or whatever type of deal. It's like, you can kind of impress them a little bit by like, ooh, I can taste these things,
Right.
Yeah. And that's sometimes like, of course, my wife makes fun of me when I do that, but that's a whole other side of things.
She's just jealous.
Something like that. I don't know if I'm going to go quite that far, but she definitely I think she just likes to make fun of me, but that's okay too. But yeah, like definitely. I mean, it's neat to learn those things with the fact that, we're coming up on our second year. I'm curious. So what would you like to do for this second year? What are you kind of interested in? We'll just kind of, I guess we'll call this like, I don't know, vision casting or whatever for the coming year. But is there anything that you're thinking of like, man, this is something I really want to make sure that we bring into the show for 2022? Yeah.
Well, there are things that I want to do personally, and that may or may not be something we do at the podcast. But I will say two things that I want to do for our listeners and for the network. Honestly, one of them is to bring on each of the board members, the executive board specifically, and just talk to them.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to be on for JHG. You can talk to him all you want. Just kidding.
He'll go all day. But just to get an idea of who they are, and how many kids they have and what they're doing. Because for me, the board was always like, oh, well, they're on the board. And it's not that way. This is just, these are the guys that got roped into it. No. But it's a different viewpoint, and understanding who they are, I think would be very valuable for everybody in the network, just to kind of have an idea, so that when we say JHG, everybody knows who we're talking about, where you and I do, but other people might not know Jonathan Heisey Grove, and they may not know, oh, he's the president of the board, So that's one of the things I want to do this year.
I was going to say, kind of to add an extra depth to that, I think it would be interesting because I know if Corey was here, she'd be telling me this, but I think it would be neat to get their wives to come on with them and hear how that interaction is. Because, I mean, being on the board for the past 3 years myself, like there's a lot of give and take and things that come out of doing that. And so every couple is going to go about it a bit differently based on kids and, what they've got going on in their life and all kinds of things like that. So it might be interesting to see if they're willing, because not every wife was like, yeah, I'll get behind the camera or on the microphone.
Right.
But for the ones that would be, it would be neat to hear sort of their take on what they've experienced and that kind of thing. So I love that idea. I think that's really cool. And two, like I know just personally, each one of those guys definitely has, their own very unique story to being connected with the organization and what they do,
how they got here.
Yeah. All that.
How they became a stay-at-home dad,
Yeah.
Because and again, that.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, just the things that they struggle with.
Oh, yeah.
That look at, because there's everything. I think anybody in this organization, like we have people that talk on the Facebook page a lot, and they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but my kid's doing this. And I'm like, oh, you're not alone. I don't even have to read your post. And I guarantee there's somebody here that's already run into that. And they'll be like, oh, let me tell you, when my kid was 4, and whatever the story will be. So I would love to hear those type of things from them too.
Definitely.
Just to kind of get just to kind of human them up a little bit, as opposed to being a very well poised shot on our, our headshot or whatever.
Definitely.
I was thinking that, and then really, I want to get into the basics of it, the basics of being an at-home dad, because we have a lot of brand new at-home dads, and they're home with infants.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been a while for me, like 7 years, 6, 7 years, but I still remember just the trepidation and oh, wow. Okay. So, oh, wow. I need more diapers already. How do I bought 42 diapers 2 days ago. Where did they all go? Or whatever you might run into. So I think for me, I want to kind of try every once in a while, once a month or something, to do, let's go in the basics, feeding your kids, and not, not necessarily older kids too, but like my infant is now on breast milk and my wife's gone to work and I've got stuff in the freezer.
Yeah.
Am I going to have enough? And that's a genuine concern.
Oh yeah. So
I think like that.
I think bringing on a dad for the different, 0 to 6 months kind of deal. Like I would love to get that green, wet behind the ears dad who's just like, yeah, like we decided that, I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad, like right out of the gate type of deal. And it's like, okay,
yes.
Like, partner's gone back to work after maternity leave. It's just you and the kid. Okay, let's talk about this. Like, what are your questions? Yeah. What are you struggling with? Like all these different things. And I think that bringing on them and then just continuing to go up, I love that idea, because honestly, that's one of those resources where that's like we were talking about with the copy and paste of a link. That's a very quick copy and paste of a link to somebody who's like, hey, like, oh, you fit in within this age bracket. Great. Like, listen to this, like this, hopefully will give you some more ideas. And of course, like we're always available to just shoot questions to as well. So that's the other nice part of things. So I love that idea. That's really cool. You've been thinking about this a little bit more than me, but I've also been kind of in and out of it with my recovery.
Yeah, you've got we'll blame the drugs. It's not a problem.
Sure. Well, I'm not even on them. That's the thing. Like I stopped taking the heavy.
It's okay. We don't have to say that. You have them in the house. They're still affecting you. That's what it is.
Yeah. My PT guy actually was like, you're not going to try to milk this for longer. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't like the feeling that they give me. I can much more handle just ibuprofen and Tylenol. I'm good.
And not to get too far off the base, but we're going to. But you were on Percocet, is that right?
I was on Percocet. So it just made me like really sleepy and kind of groggy. And I was just like, I took it. So my surgery was on Thursday. I took Percocet Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then stopped taking it.
Yeah.
And
is that a steroid?
No, I don't think it is. It's something else. Okay. But it was one of those deals where I read on the bottle, it said that if your pain level wasn't above a 4, you didn't need to take it. And I was like, my pain level is not above a 4 anymore. So I'm good. Like, I was like, I don't need to do this. So yeah. But I still feel exhausted just, because I am still recovering and things. So that's one of those deals where I keep pushing myself and then I get in trouble for it. But
because as we talked about before you had your surgery, sir,
I was doing
self-care, man.
Yep.
You need you need to back that off.
Yep. So so for me, for this coming year though, I think it just goes along with you. Like, I just want to bring more dads on and talk to them. There are so many different realms. I know we were talking before the show we started, before we hit record, we were talking about for like May the 4th, like, who could we bring on, that kind of stuff. And like, I know like we had our Eddie on and that was awesome. Like, it was so much fun talking to him, and he is a huge Star Wars geek. And I was thinking that for this year, it would be cool to bring on like Victor Aragon from fandads.com, which if you don't know about fandads.com, check it out, because they are doing giveaways all the time on there. I've actually won some really sweet movies from them, including like Last Jedi at one time. So that was really cool. But
nice.
But he goes to like Comic-Con there in Chicago and stuff like that. And so he's got a lot of
jealous.
Yeah. The big one of the bigger ones up there. So yeah, so stuff like that, just like bringing that on. We didn't hit anybody for Legos this past year. And so I think it would be fun to get a Lego dad in.
Did have that on the list.
Yeah. So I definitely would do that. And there's a few there's quite a few military dads that all have some different stories. And I think it would just be awesome to bring them on and talk to them about their stuff. And
yes,
there are quite a few. And then on top of that too, like after connecting with Hogan, like all these different like OG stay-at-home dads that he knows and that I've had wind of who they are, but getting connected with them and seeing just kind of where they are and how they kind of process through everything. Cause a lot of them are just sort of like sitting on the walls watching us, and they from time to time like jump in and they'll comment on things, but I would love to kind of get their wisdom on different areas of just fatherhood in general. So I think 2022 is going to be just an exciting year of just lots of really cool shows. And, depending on where things go for travels and stuff for our families and things, that'll be interesting to talk about as well. And then of course, like all of us traveling out to Phoenix next into September and October for Home Dad Con is going to be pretty cool.
I can't wait.
There are so many dads that I've talked to who are like, oh, I'm just bringing my whole family with me. And like, I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, like I've got family that live out there. So we're just going to go visit them. And then wife and kids or whatever, or partner and kids are going to hang out. And, I'm going to be in the hotel for the convention itself. And I'm like, smart. That's a great idea. I found out that my mom and dad have a timeshare out there. Cool. And so I was like, they're like, yeah, it's like $200 for the week. I'm like, sold. I'm there.
Right.
I'm like, I get for a week, $200. And it's like, they got like swimming pool and everything out there. It's a nice little place. And so I was like, yeah, I'll take that. That sounds great. Because even when I go to the convention, like wife and kids can stay there and hang out and have a good old time. But yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see like who all comes, and maybe this is the year where you get like the spouses and the kids like able to get together for one of the days where it's like, hey, we're all going to go hang out at XYZ place. I mean, find like a big park or something. That would be cool.
Man, my wife would die. But the kids would have such a good time.
Yeah.
Marnie, if you listen to this, the kids would have so much fun. It would be memories forever.
Get to hang out with Corey.
I could just see that. I could see, you wouldn't get to talk to her, but you could see her because Marnie be running around after 4 kids because wherever we were, they'd be
let them run.
It's on fire. We were thinking about the Grand Canyon. We're seriously.
Oh, we are too.
Looking at it because I don't know if Marnie can get the time off work, to be honest. That is one of the bad, I don't want to say bad things, but one of the not so good things about her job is that she does have vacation. They encourage her to take vacation. They want her to take her time, and they want all of their employees to take their time. However, getting an entire week and then getting all of us out there for a flight and then the flight back and all that. And it's just like, wow, that's maybe, but it maybe, I don't know.
That's a lot of bodies getting on the plane for, for your family. Yeah. That definitely makes it interesting. Well, and speaking of which, so when we were talking about, I'd sent out different like questions for us, like, what's your favorite episode? For me, I put down episode 5, which is the how to talk to your partners about getting a break, which was the episode with Marnie and Corey and just that conversation, which that would be fun. I think that's something that would be fun to continue to do and maybe even bring on some other couples as well. But for me, that was one of my favorite ones because I felt like we really, all of us connected quite quickly. And just had a really good like camaraderie and conversation, but also too, that's the highest like listened to episode that we have.
Wow. Still, I knew it was earlier, but
it's almost 110 listens, which a lot of people would probably be like, well, that doesn't seem like a lot, but honestly, like out of 50 episodes, most of the episodes have about 50 downloads. For that one to have over 100 is pretty excellent. And we're just, I think, coming up on like our 3,000th download. We're getting really close to it. But yeah, I mean, that episode has been shared to so many people, like, cause there's so many times like guys are just like, how do I do this? How do I get this conversation going or whatever? I'm like, hey, like got the show for you. Like, just listen to this. And, I haven't really heard anything back from anybody from it or whatever. But when you read through some of the comments and stuff from the threads, it's just like, all right, obviously, like they've given it a listen and they're going to maybe try something. So, so that one's, I'm really proud of that show. It's funny that that's like, our 5th out of 50, but that's the one I'm most proud of this year.
Yeah. That is one of my 2 favorites. Actually, it's the same one. Yeah. Yeah. How do you talk to your spouse about getting a break?
What's your other favorite?
It was called, and I don't remember the number. Sorry, but it was How do you exemplify your emotions? And it was talking about how emotional we are in front of our kids, and I think one of the questions was, do you cry in front of your kids? Do your kids see you have emotions? And you and I both, yeah, absolutely. We're fine showing our emotions and what have you. And the more that I look into this and I'm beginning to, get more educated in these types of things, the more I see the need for emotional self-awareness for our kids and for us, to be able to understand what's going on when something happens. Unfortunately, grief has been a big one for me lately, but it's really beneficial for me that I know what's going on, and I can look at it and I've studied it. I'm like, oh, well, this is the 5 stages. And like when my grandmother passed, I didn't feel anything, nothing. I didn't cry. I wasn't really upset. And I love my grandmother. But I was in that stage of grief. It's just really disbelief, and if I had not known that, I would have just been horrified that how can you call yourself a loving person and you're not even crying that your grandmother's passed away? Yeah. But again, knowing that it was, well, that's just one of the stages. That's where I'm at right now. And I'll come out of it and I'll change, and I'll get, the other ones are coming too, but to be able to understand that starts with us as parents. And this is moms and dads, of course, showing our kids what emotions are, giving them names for it. So I really love that we had that conversation, and it was much more of a dynamic conversation. I mean, I think everybody kind of knows we don't script our episodes. It's pretty obvious, we just kind of go, but we were able to really get into that and talk about how we deal with that with our kids. And, and looking back on all 50 of them, I thought, that meant something for me personally. That was probably my favorite. And then I'm stupidly in love with this woman, and she was on an episode, so that's my favorite one. How do you talk to your spouse? I just talk to her, I just tell her. But
that is such a hurdle. That's a hurdle for a lot of guys, though. The whole talking to your spouse, it is a hurdle. And a lot of guys, depending on the situation, have been emasculated by their spouses, or they've had their own things that they're coming into that they got to work through and stuff. So
we've got it good, you and I. That is one thing I did think about with that episode. We were trying to answer a question that we really didn't need answered ourselves. No, we already knew how to do it, and our wives were all. I mean, Corey was, completely upfront about everything about it. Yeah, you have to recognize that your spouse is in a position that's going to drain the crap out of them, and they're going to need this break.
But I think to bring on a couple where they're not at that place is just a train wreck waiting to happen.
Yeah,
like, you can't bring somebody in. You can't say, hey, we need a couple that maybe you're just not quite on the same page. We want to bring you in and we want you to talk to everybody. And oh, by the way, we promise not to chant Jerry, but it's a very very good possibility
that we put a soundtrack in later. Yeah. But maybe, get a marriage counselor on. Was one of my thoughts about potential, future. I don't want to talk about that too much. We're trying to keep each one section, but that was a thought too, is to bring in somebody that's a marriage counselor and be like, okay, what would you do to this? How would you view this? How would we say this?
Yeah. Well, I actually, one of the guys who was in Minneapolis, I spoke with him just recently because he was commenting on a thread in the group. And I was asking him if he had any background with like sexual therapy, like sex therapy type stuff. And he said, no, but it does come up in conversation. Like he does some like marriage counseling stuff. So he might be the guy to contact and get on for it as well and go from there. But because like I said, I reached out to him and actually got to talk to him because I'm trying to see if he might be a good fit for the group that is coming out of the Home Dad Con the sexual relationships therapy panel. So we'll see how that all plays out. But we're trying to find a professional to have be in that like Discord channel or whatever. Like I've actually started a Discord channel for like the Dad Lounge, and like we can
Discord's
put it in
the best.
Yeah, we can put it in there and go from there with that. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many resources. That's the thing that is so exciting. Like I was talking with actually one of the ladies at PT today, and she was saying that her and her husband are getting ready to celebrate their 1-year anniversary, and like they're in their like late 20s, actually about mid 20s, honestly. But it was just so funny because they're just like, we're not ready to we don't want kids. I'm like, no, wait, like honestly, like give it time, like go enjoy everything. But I said, when it does come time, I go, let him know there are plenty of books out there to help him along. She was like, he's got so much anxiety about being a dad. I'm like, it's okay. Totally fine. Like that's a normal feeling. I was like, but just let him know, like if you talk about it, that there are resources out there. I was like, there's stuff out there that wasn't there when I became a dad. So I'm like, and that's only been in the past 8 years. So now there's a ton of stuff out there. And she was so encouraged by that. I'm like, yes, like that's the reaction I want. That's what I want to see from people. So it's the same thing with, I had a dad, sorry, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but there was a dad in this, it's called Cincinnati Moms and Friends group that I'm on. And typically you don't see too many dads post on there. Yeah. It's mostly the neighborhood moms, which is totally fine. They've all been really great. But this guy was like, hey, my 6-year-old daughter and I are going to be coming to Cincinnati for 42 weeks because her cancer has relapsed. And so she's going to be at Cincinnati Children's. And my heart just went out to him because I'm like, one, like I have a 6-year-old daughter and I'm like, and two, you're going to be away from home for 42 weeks. Like that kid's in kindergarten, like, holy cow. Luckily, Cincinnati Children's has an amazing like resource where they actually bring teachers in to teach the kids and stuff, which is really cool. And what was neat was that the woman who started it, her daughter commented and was like, oh yeah, like I know about this program because my mom started it 20 years ago at the hospital. And I'm like, that's so cool. And so like, I got on there and was just like, hey man, like I'm a part of the local Cincinnati dads group. Like I would love to see if there's some way that the local dads could come around and support you. And this one lady comes and hops on. She's like, so I know this has really nothing to do with really what you post or whatever, but it brings I feel like I have a better or more healthier shred of humanity by seeing you post this because I'm getting out of like, is she like this very toxic relationship with her partner or whatever. And I thought all men were like this. And so to see that that's not the case. And I'm just like, yeah, don't put us all in the same basket just because of one bad apple. Like that's not a good way to go about it. So it was just, that's the thing. Those are the things that you see in conversations. You're just like, that's what we're up against. I mean, that's just what we're up against. So, So I'm just excited about that. I am curious, like what episode do you think we should revisit? I think you mentioned this a little bit, but, or something to like dig deeper into. I know you were talking about the one thing, with, what was it? Marriage counseling. Is there anything else that you thought that we kind of touched on, but you want to dig deeper into?
Not really necessarily dig deeper per se, but I definitely want to have a Thanksgiving like meal plan every year. I think I would like to just talk about that every year. I know we kind of missed the window this year, but I really liked that. I enjoy cooking and I enjoy making food that people will like, and I know a lot of the dads enjoy that too. And whether it's, there's so many ways you can cook. Whether, you're the smoker guy or you're the air fryer guy, wherever you are on that, that spectrum, if that's the ends, just to talk about what we're doing for our family for Thanksgiving, because one, it is absolutely so much to plan, that let's do this, how we're going to do the turkey and are we having family over and all this stuff, but it's also a huge amount of stress and anxiety. The holidays can be so draining for people that I really kind of want to have something that we do at that time of the year, just to remind the dads, hey, you're doing an awesome job. You've done this before. You can do it again. We're behind you. If there's anything you need, if you need suggestions or whatever, and just kind of hype up the the joy of what the holidays can be.
Definitely. And it changes year to year. It changes
Mhm.
year to year on what you're going to do. Like maybe you're going to
Yes.
one person's house one year and another person's house another year type
Right.
of deal.
Right.
You know,
and the
and-
difficulties, either
Yeah.
having them all at your house, which is a huge pain, or going to somebody else's house with food, which is a huge pain. You know, I mean, it's all got its issues. So
Exactly. So I like that. And I think for Christmas, you know, or the holidays itself or whatever, we can definitely talk about that. I will say that I don't know if we talked about this last year or not, but I took on the role of a very specific character for the holiday season last year.
yes,
And
got a very specific, shall we say, set of clothing.
yes, very a very
special
specific cosplay outfit.
Mhm.
Let's
Nice.
call it
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And well, what's even more interesting is like when my grandfather passed away this summer, I actually got his cosplay costume out of it.
Yes, that's what I was
but
trying not to say.
No,
Yeah.
you're fine. But when I pulled that one out and was looking at it recently, because some guys were asking if I was going to do that again this year, my wife was like, "Why don't you just purchase a new outfit that's yours, and then that way you can just keep his nice, because it's you know,
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
got lots of miles on it."
Yeah.
And so I've picked something out and I'm going to get it purchased, but I've already got guys that started asking me. So I'm going to be putting out like, I actually made my own specific email for it, which is really cool.
Yay.
And to keep track of everything.
That makes it official.
Yeah. And, you know, I've got a very like a good like price thing for it and stuff. And so it's one of those deals where it's like, they were talking on like the nightly news about the fact that there's going to be a lack of Santa around. And I was just like, all right, like, let's do this. Like, I came in late to the game last year. Like, let's get this kicked off before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, so I'm excited about that. But I think just talking about how that all plays out, because there are guys out there, like one dude in particular, who his family, they travel the country, and there's quite a few guys like that. And so it's like, what is Christmas? What does the holidays look like for a family that's out traveling, you know?
Mhm.
And I actually ran into a mom on Instagram, her and her family are RVers too. And so I think it would be neat to maybe try to connect with some of them and just be like, what's it like to be on the road? It's gotta be completely different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And how does that play for your family as well? Because I think so many people are always just like, I have to travel 3 hours to go visit like so and so. It's like, dude, these people have traveled how many hours, and like they don't have any family around. It's just them. Like,
Yeah.
like, and where are they hiding things? Like,
Yeah.
what are they
exactly.
doing?
Yeah.
We just DoorDash it all the night before on DoorDash and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, on Uber and Lyft and Comet and Blitzen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh
That's
my
awesome.
goodness. So yeah. And then, so for me, the thing that I really want to dig deeper into, I loved our mentor and side gigs episode that we
Mhm.
did. And we touched on it and it was great. But I think we've gained some mentors, especially since Home Dad Con. There's been a few guys that have jumped on. Some of the guys who have been around the while were like, oh, you have a mentorship group? Like, I want to get in on
Mhm.
that. So I was really
yeah.
excited about that. And I think that we could dig deeper into that side of things. And then the side gigs, there are so many guys doing so many things right now. And it's just super cool. Like, I got a axe comb, like a wood axe comb from Eric Shorberg during Home Dad Con. And let me just tell you, that thing is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, so he's putting out some awesome wood stuff. And, you know, you've got other guys just doing things. I think there's still a guy in the group that he raises shrimp. Is that in like an aquarium? Yeah.
Oh,
like
wow.
like
That's cool.
aquarium shrimp. So there's this like all these different, there's a guy that does like comic books and stuff. There's guys in bands. I mean, the list goes on and on. What you know, photographers and graphic designer guys and just other unique talents that everybody has. So I think giving people the ability to see like, hey, there are these abilities to do that kind of stuff. Forging is another big one.
Let's go, blacksmith.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few guys that are out there doing that too. So
unless you meant forging papers, Sorry, did I assume?
Nope, you're good. You had it right the first time. Watch it, man. People are listening. Gonna get us in trouble before we get to 2022. I see how it is.
We have to have a remarkable year the first year. Well, I want to say as briefly as I can, but the mentorship thing is definitely going to get more obvious and more refined and more press, as it were, local, like, I mean, not like just in the network. So I'm saying not like, ABC's picking us up or whatever, but it is something that the board, well, at least one board member, me, is looking to refine and really getting some stuff hammered down. And I've talked with the with the president, at least, and looking at making that a big part of what we are as a network too.
Yeah.
Because of the need for mentors, just to have somebody that you can go to. And it doesn't have to be any specific thing, like, oh, well, it's just these guys, or it's just, we just have mechanics, or we just have, the guy that's going to teach you to play catch or whatever. But it's anything really that the guys are good at.
Yeah.
That they're educated in or skilled in, or just have, I've done this for 30 years, because we have such a huge just wealth of resources and knowledge and experience in the network. And we have a lot of dads that are now coming in that are work from home dads too. And you're talking about side gigs and stuff, and they run a business and take care of their kids all day, and it's just like that. Wow. I could not have, well, I can't run a business anyway. That's not my thing. I would just be all over the place, but it's really a big thing that we need. I feel, we need a men's group. I think every man needs a man's group. We said that earlier a little bit, but I think every man really could use a mentor, at least, at some points in their life, where you can just go to another, dad and say, look, my kid's just doing this crappy thing. And then, maybe they've done it 100 times, maybe they've never done it, but to have somebody you can bounce that off of and talk to that isn't your own father.
Yeah.
And not to downplay your, anyone's dad at all. Dads are awesome, and our dads are awesome, maybe not all of us, but some of us awesome dads. But the ability to talk to somebody that's not your dad, because you kind of run into situations that you don't want to talk to your dad about.
Oh yeah.
Or you can't talk to your dad about, and he's like, well, I really need to talk to somebody about whatever it is,
Right.
So I'm really, again, it's a slow process, but we are definitely getting that as going to be more of a focus with the network too.
Definitely. I think that I think for anybody that's listening, that, wherever they are, if that's something they desire, it's one of those deals where it's like, take the initial baby steps, like like I've said before, go to your local library, see if you can put up a thing that just says, hey, like, I'm going to put together like a book club, or, just a round table, like hangout discussion. Like librarians would probably eat that stuff up to be able to get some dads that are actually there to do, something that's constructive for them. Or if you've got a local, like, if you're part of the VFW or something like that, like put it out there. Like, there's just so many different
Rotary Club,
Rotary
Lions
Clubs,
Club,
Lions
Club.
Yeah, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Get it out there and just start up something. Like that's the thing. And don't be discouraged if you sit there and it's just you for a night. It's okay. Take a book with you, like, and just enjoy just the peace and quiet of it, and just try again. Cause sometimes like somebody just maybe needs to see like, oh, they showed up. Kind of deal.
Someone was actually here.
Someone was actually there. Like I wasn't planning on sitting there, type of deal. Like, but yeah, I mean, so I like that idea. I think that's great, man. And honestly, this past year has been awesome, and it's exciting. Like, we'll have a few more weeks of 2021 left, which is crazy to think that it's almost over. But we'll have a few more episodes to go, and then we'll come right into 2022 with everything. And I don't know if we'll take a break for like Christmas or not. We might. We'll see. Who knows? Depends.
I think at the very least, I would like to just get a chance, if we can, just to get all of our family together.
Oh, that would be
your
fun.
family, my family, just my family's going to be like, what? I don't want to be on that. Come on. Or the little kids will be all over it, but
they could just come in for a second and leave. It's fine.
Yeah. And just leave. I get my teenager. He'll do that probably, but, but I would like to do that too for the holidays as well.
I love that idea.
Just, as a just a hello to all the other dads out there.
Yeah.
You know, and
We'll
this is
pull
what
this
I
virtual
deal
back.
with
We'll pull
all
this
day.
virtual background down so everybody
Yeah.
can see everybody. So we're not.
Yeah. I think that would be something we could do, and maybe not a whole episode. Definitely, you know, I don't think either one of us will have a whole hour.
No, just let them come in for a few minutes. It's all good.
Christmas, this whole year is going to be busy.
I think that's pretty cool. I think too. So are you in the movies much?
Mhm.
Are you a movie guy? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that we should do a holiday movie episode.
All right. Do you mean like watch a movie together?
No. I mean like
Okay,
talk
just checking.
about like what are the movies that you're like this. I either like things that I used to love to watch. Maybe you don't get to watch them now so much, but like these were the movies that like these fit the holiday for me, or if it's on TV, like
Sure.
I'll sit and watch it kind of deal, and just talk about them a little bit. I like to go in depth and find out like information about stuff like that. You know, like did you know like about this movie kind of deal, because there's a lot of that fun stuff. But I think we should do a holiday movie episode in the next upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I'd be willing. Now I want to clarify one thing. I did not start celebrating any holidays until I was in my mid 40s.
Okay, that's okay.
So I grew up with I have no holiday movies. I didn't celebrate Christmas ever. So
you might be interested to find out some of the things that I consider to be Christmas movies.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Might not be a Christmas movie.
Yeah. And Marnie definitely has. She wants to watch Ben-Hur every year. You know, and I'm like,
is that for Easter?
What? Yeah,
is that Easter?
And I'm like, why? What?
I watched I grew up watching the 10 Commandments for Easter.
And that's what it was, that she grew up watching it with her mom, and her mom would watch it every single year. And I was like, that is so cool.
Yep.
You know, my kids don't quite fall for it, but we definitely have our own, you know, we've developed, you know, certain movies that we'll watch. The Nightmare Before Christmas, as an example, we watch for Halloween, and they're like, are we going to watch it? Yeah, let's watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Something about the Square Pumpkin. Do you remember the Square Pumpkin movie? I don't remember the name of it, but it's a really goofy animated movie about a square pumpkin. And I'm just like, this is awful. And I think his name is Spookly the Square. It's a Halloween movie,
that's a kindergarten book.
Movie,
That's a book from kindergarten. Yeah,
well, they made a movie out of it.
Oh my goodness.
Kids didn't read the book.
Don't tell my daughter. She doesn't need to know about that. Anyway,
right.
So
anyway,
so definitely have some fun stuff coming up here in the next few weeks. You know, Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and so when you're listening to this, Thanksgiving is only a few days away after that.
A couple days.
We really hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving with your families. Hopefully, everything is safe and healthy for everybody, and just lots of good food. You know, we're doing a really low key Thanksgiving because of my recovery and stuff. I'll just say this: the one thing that for me makes Thanksgiving is pumpkin pie that my wife makes, because it's amazing, and watching the Macy's Day parade for me. So those are the two things that I like. It's not Thanksgiving if I don't get to do those two things.
Awesome. Very cool.
But we hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and you know, we look forward to talking to you more. And if you guys have any like comments or ideas for shows, or maybe you want to come on the show, that's fine too. Like, love to have you.
Yes.
Let us know. And also too, like, if whatever platforms you're listening to us on, we have multiple platforms that you can listen to us on. We actually just got on iHeartRadio, which is a new one. I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
And so definitely check us out there. Danny, it was a good night, man.
Definitely.
A lot of reminiscing.
And have a happy Thanksgiving.
Definitely. Y'all have a good night.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.